Nostradamus predicted only 4 zodiac signs will receive $1 million in 2026. The year 2026 is already marked in closed interpretations as a turning point in finance. In Nostradamus's deciphered quatrains, only 4 signs of the zodiac are clearly identified for which this year opens up access to big money, a sharp rise in status, and the opportunity to earn $1 million. No more, no less. Just 4. This is not a general horoscope or a mass prediction. It is about a choice that is not made by chance. Nostradamus spoke of people who will find themselves in the right place at the decisive moment and will be able to take advantage of an opportunity that others will not see or will miss. Interestingly, Vanga also singled out 2026 as a time of sharp redistribution of material flows. In her interpretations, this period was called the year when money would go to those who could withstand the pressure and not break down when faced with a choice. For most, it will be a year of loss and doubt. For the chosen ones, it will be a year of leaps and bounds. In this video, I will clearly and bluntly name these 4 signs of the zodiac and explain why they are at the center of the financial events of 2026. What decisions, what risks, and what opportunities they will face. Write your zodiac sign in the comments and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Only predictions that do not repeat generalities and work for results are published here. The first sign is Gemini. Gemini enters 2026 as if holding a map with invisible markings on it. Everything that previously seemed random suddenly forms a clear line of events, where the main point is the moment when financial success will explode unexpectedly but naturally. Already in the first months of the year, there are signs that their energy of thought and speed of reaction are becoming a tool for enrichment. In January, they will have the chance to join a new initiative that combines intellect, technology, and communication. What others call a risk will prove to be an intuitively correct choice for Gemini. February brings an unexpected meeting with a person whose experience in finance will be the impetus for a joint project. This collaboration will not be easy. Gemini will be faced with the need to make decisions quickly, without time for reflection. But it is in this chaos that they will find their own pace, and a breakthrough will appear that will turn their ordinary year into a year of capital. In the spring, Gemini's initiative becomes a magnet for money. They do not look for opportunities. Opportunities come to them. In April, Gemini will receive a signal from the past. An old acquaintance, partner, or even a former competitor will offer a deal that cannot be refused. Behind its outward simplicity lies serious financial potential, and those who manage to seize the moment will receive their first serious profit of the year. May picks up the pace. Money begins to flow to them like a stream, rather than a random reward. What previously seemed insignificant suddenly yields tangible results. In June, Gemini will realize for the first time that control is their new strength. If they previously allowed situations to control them, now they become the directors of their own financial scenario. It is in the middle of the year that their environment will change. Influential people will appear on the horizon who will appreciate Gemini's quick thinking and flexible decisions. These connections will become the foundation for what will turn into real profits with 6 zeros in September. July brings a brief downturn, not as a defeat, but as a test. A sudden slowdown in the financial flow will force Gemini to evaluate everything they have created and not lose their balance. They will need to understand that excess energy can lead to distraction, and distraction can lead to loss. However, in August, they return to the game with redoubled strength. Their ability to see trends where others see only chaos leads to a new direction. investments, or digital assets that begin to grow rapidly. September becomes the month of culmination. Gemini sign a long-awaited agreement, and it is this that becomes the moment when a seemingly symbolic account explodes into a real million. But the main thing is not the amount. What is more important is that they themselves become a symbol of rapid success. Those who previously doubted their abilities now recognize that analytical minds and flexibility in communication can create capital no worse than strength or influence. October brings stabilization. Money no longer appears chaotically. It becomes a system, and Gemini learn to maintain it. They begin to invest in themselves, education, development, travel, which open up new channels of income. This is what turns random luck into a long-term financial cycle. In November, Gemini become people who are sought out for advice. They are no longer just participants in events. They are the architects of their own success. December symbolically ends the year with the result of a deal or project that seemed too ambitious a few months ago. This event becomes the final confirmation of Nostradamus' prediction. Their minds, multi-channel thinking, and ability to act in several directions at once have led to the main thing: material confirmation of their own value. And while others are just beginning to understand that 2026 has been a year of change for some, Gemini are already living in a new reality where ideas carry weight and a word can be worth a million. After this year, they will no longer be able to return to their old way of life. Money is not just a result, but a consequence of their ability to think faster than the world around them. And now every decision, every connection, every idea has a specific price. In 2026, Gemini will not just earn a million, they will discover the formula for success. And this formula will never lose its power. The second sign of Libra. Libras enter 2026 with the feeling that the balance they have been building for so long is about to turn into something new, something concrete, tangible, measurable. They feel an inner urge to act, although they are usually in no hurry. From the first weeks of January, the space around them begins to push them toward financial decisions they have previously avoided. Libras do not seek risk, but this time, risk is the key. They let go of old fears, agree to bold arrangements, and it is at this moment that the first step toward a million is taken. February changes the dynamics. During this period, Libras find themselves in a situation where they have to choose sides. Their analytical minds are torn between emotion and logic. But fate is uncompromising. Only a direct decision will bring results. They choose the path of partnership, although they used to rely only on themselves. And for good reason. The person they meet during this period will be the driving force behind the events that unfold throughout the year. This is not a romantic story. It is a union of minds, where one thinks strategically and the other sees opportunities where others see limits. March brings unrest. Libras feel that the balance has been disrupted. Expenses are growing, profits are delayed, and partners' promises seem empty. But it is in this chaos that they learn the most important thing: to control the financial flow, not intuitively, but through structure. Their ability to build order amid instability becomes their main advantage. And already in April, the first results are becoming apparent. Money appears not as a reward, but as a consequence of the system that Libras have created with their own hands. May brings an unexpected breakthrough. They are invited to participate in a project related to beauty, design, aesthetics, or diplomacy, areas where Libras are traditionally strong. But this time, it's not reputation that's at stake. but big money. And how they manage to combine taste with calculation will determine the rest of the year. Their balance becomes a resource that investors notice. In June, Libras are already at the beginning of a new financial cycle. July is the moment when Libras realize that wealth does not come without inner discipline. They stop doubting their own worth, and this inner change alters the course of external events. The mirror principle begins to work. Everything they radiate comes back in the form of concrete opportunities. Their words become arguments, their advice becomes decisions, and each meeting opens new doors. In August, their name appears for the first time in an environment where large sums of money are involved. September becomes a turning point. A partnership agreement signed several months ago brings profits that exceed all expectations. This is no coincidence. It is the natural result of good timing. Libras understand that fate rewards them not for their courage, but for their endurance. When others rushed into extremes, they remained calm. And now it is this calmness that has become the main factor that turned an opportunity into a million. October brings new responsibilities. Money is no longer a dream, but a resource that needs to be managed. Libras learn financial strategy. They open accounts, distribute assets, and consult with experts. At this moment, their lives acquire a structure that was previously lacking. And it is this structure that guarantees that the profit will not disappear like a fluke. In November, they make a decision that will determine the coming years. They invest part of the funds in their own business and part in the development of others. They no longer need external balance because they have already found internal balance. December ends the year with confident silence. There is no euphoria, no sense of explosion. There is a calm understanding that a million has become part of life. Libras do not seek to boast, they simply continue to act. Their strength lies in their ability to maintain harmony, even when there is turmoil around them. And this harmony now has a price. Nostradamus's prediction for them came true not because of a miracle, but because of the accuracy of their decisions, attention to detail, and unshakable belief in the balance between mind and heart. After 2026, Libras will no longer waver between extremes. They will learn to see money not as a temptation, but as proof of their own consistency. Their success is not loud, but it is tangible. They have created a foundation on which to build an empire. And now their every action, every word, every movement is a deliberate step taken by someone who has learned to turn beauty into capital. The third sign is Taurus. For Taurus, 2026 begins not with loud promises, but with a quiet but profound inner shift. In January, they feel that the time has come to act independently, without relying on the guarantees of others. Their confidence grows, and it is this determination that opens the door to a financial zone that few have access to. Taurus has always valued stability, but this time fate demands courage from them, and they are ready to take a risk, not impulsively, but with cold deliberation, which will become their main advantage. In February, a concrete opportunity appears before him, an investment, business, or partnership that seems too complicated at first glance. However, this is where his million-dollar chance lies. He analyzes, checks, and calculates for a long time, and finally takes the plunge. This moment will be a turning point. Already in March, the first results exceed expectations. Money begins to flow his way not chaotically, but systematically, as if the universe is rewarding him for years of hard work, endurance, and caution. April is the month when his material calculations are combined with deep instinct. Taurus begins to sense financial trends, even before they become apparent to others. He sees the market as soil in which to plant seeds. Everything he does during this period becomes an investment in the future. His strategies are precise. Every move is well thought out, and even the smallest details matter. In May, he broadens his horizons. New contacts, acquaintances, collaborations. People who did not take him seriously before now see him as a man of action. And although he does not seek recognition, it comes along with trust. It is then that a deal appears on the horizon that will change the scale of his life. This is not a coincidence or luck. It is the logical result of consistency. June brings the first wave of big profits. This is not a win or a gift. It is a reward for years of endurance. But along with the money comes a test. How not to relax when everything starts to work out. Taurus is used to being in control, so even at the moment of ascent, he acts deliberately. This is what saves him from mistakes that could be costly. In July, new goals appear. They begin to think big, not just as a capital owner, but as a strategist who builds a system. Their investments expand, and areas appear that they had not even thought of before. Some of their entourage do not understand these steps, but Taurus sees deeper. His thinking becomes far-sighted, and he clearly feels that he is moving where the money works for him. August tests his patience. One of the areas fails, and it seems that part of the profit is lost. But instead of panicking, he reacts calmly. He reorients himself, changes his priorities, and it is this flexibility that saves the situation. In September, he already recovers what he has lost, with interest. His financial strategy becomes an example of rationality. While others rushed into extremes, he calmly moved forward. October is the moment of realization of the main idea of the year. Taurus completes the transaction that forms the basis of his capital. And that's when the amount that has been accumulated from various sources for a long time crosses the million mark. But he doesn't celebrate. His reaction is silence and clarity. He realizes that this million is not a random prize, but the result of his personal strategy. In November, he becomes a person who does not chase money. Money seeks him out. His name begins to be mentioned among those who can consistently earn where others lose. His advice is valued. People are drawn to him. But he does not lose his footing. Everything he does has a clear logic: development, security, profit. December sums up the year in the spirit of Taurus, calmly, without loud gestures, but with a firm sense of victory. His accounts are growing, but most importantly, he is gaining inner confidence. Now he knows that he can create wealth from scratch, without luck, only through precision, intelligence, and hard work. Nostradamus' prediction for Taurus turned out to be prophetic. This sign has become a symbol of stable growth in a world of change. His financial breakthrough is not a story of miracles, but of the power of logic, system, and self-discipline. In 2026, Taurus will not just earn $1 million. He will create a structure that will bring in even more. And this year will be the point after which he will never allow himself to live below his own potential. The fourth sign is Capricorn. Capricorn enters 2026 as if climbing another peak that he saw from afar. His path has always been difficult, but this time the world begins to respond to his efforts differently. Already in the first days of January, he feels that the surrounding reality is adapting to his plans. Where it used to take years to break down walls, now doors are starting to open on their own. Capricorn is not looking for quick fixes. It creates long-term structures, and it is this quality that makes 2026 a year of financial triumph. January begins a process that looks modest on the outside but has a powerful foundation on the inside. During this period, Capricorn makes a deal or a decision that seems technical at the time, but it becomes the main axis of the whole year. People around him do not immediately understand his logic because he thinks in terms of years, not days. His endurance becomes a weapon, and his cold analytics a defense against any financial storms. In February, the moment of truth arrives. Expenses are growing, and plans are meeting with resistance. But this is where Capricorn's true strength comes into play. They do not back down. They calculate everything down to the smallest detail and adjust their course. During this period, an opportunity arises to join a large business process or investment platform. And although many doubt, Capricorn sees logic where others see only risk. And this choice becomes a turning point. March brings the first fruits. The flow of funds, which seemed distant, begins to take shape in real income. Its systematic nature begins to be noticed by those who previously underestimated it. Capricorn becomes the center of gravity. He is invited to new projects, offered cooperation, and sought out for his opinion. He is in no hurry. Each of his answers is thoughtful, each step is precise. April is a period of scaling up. His ambitions, which long seemed internal, come to the fore. They see the bigger picture, and this begins to bring tangible financial results. Capricorns don't play the short game. They build a system that begins to generate profit without their constant intervention. This is where the seeds are sown for what will explode into a real financial breakthrough in September. In May, the moment comes when the trust of those around them becomes key. He is offered to manage, invest, or expand his influence. He agrees, but not out of vanity. He simply understands that it is time to act on a larger scale. His strategy is based not on luck, but on structure. In June, he already sees how capital is moving and manages this movement like an experienced architect. July is the month of results. Money begins to flow steadily and, most importantly, multiply. His accounts are growing, but he does not lose self-control. On the contrary, the larger the sums, the cooler his mind becomes. He does not need euphoria because he knows for sure that this is only halfway there. In August, his strategic thinking leads to a moment when investments from several sources merge into one powerful financial stream. It is then that the number he has long seen, in his own calculations, appears for the first time: 1 million. September brings not peace, but even greater responsibility. Capricorn understands that the game is now on a different level. He becomes a person who has not only earned money, but also proven that he is capable of managing large processes. His financial behavior begins to resemble a chess game, where each move is several months ahead of events. His ability to predict developments impresses even experienced market players. October is the time when he finally allows himself to take a break, not to rest, but to analyze. He reviews his every step, every action, and evaluates the effectiveness of the system. And he comes to the conclusion: now he can create even more. Money becomes not a goal, but a tool. He begins to invest in projects that bring not only profit, but also influence. November is the peak. His name starts popping up in places where they talk about big numbers. He gets invited, people ask his advice, and he's seen as an example of how strategic thinking can change your life. He doesn't talk much. He acts. And it's his actions that make him seem like someone who knows what they're doing. December wraps up the year without fanfare, but with clarity. Capricorn achieves what Nostradamus predicted. he gets 1,000,000. Not by chance, but by merit. This year was not a celebration for him, but a confirmation of his own law, the law of work, patience, and precision. From now on, his path changes. He no longer seeks opportunities, because he himself has become an opportunity. His name is associated with results, and his experience with reliability. Capricorn in 2026 is a symbol of how discipline and strategy transform an ordinary life into a financial legend. And no crisis will take this result away, because it is built on the strongest foundation, his own mind.